Lesson 11, Equivalent Expressions with Percents. So just a recap of distribution. Distribution is when we take this number that is outside of our parentheses, this 2, and we are going to multiply it to everything that is inside of our parentheses. So every number, so this 5, this 8, and this 12, all are going to be multiplied by 2. So when we do that, we're multiplying the numbers, and if there is a variable attached to the number, it just goes along with it. So I'm going to have 2 times 5, which gives me 10x, 2 times 8, which gives me 16y, and 2 times 12, which gives me 24. Now these signs in between, this plus sign and this minus sign, I'm just going to copy them in the same places. So they're not changing, they're just going to be brought down. Alright, use the equation to answer the following question. Which value of k makes this equation true? So on one side of my equal sign here, I have this 16a plus 4b. On the other side of my equal sign, I have k times 2a plus 1 half b. Now my goal is to have a 16a on this side and a 16a on this side. So right now I have this 2, right? So I need to find a number k. Remember, so k is being multiplied in because k is my number or my variable outside of my parentheses. So I need to think what number times 2 will give me 16. So if I have some number times 2 equals 16, that could be 8, right? If I put an 8 out here, if I have 8 times 2, that's 16a, and 8 times 1 half is 4b. So that gives me the same expression, which means that my final answer here is going to be k is equal to 8. Alright, so I was thinking what number times this 2 will give me this 16 that I'm looking for. Alrighty, percent equations. So when you're dealing with percents and equations, it can get a little bit tricky, but these two things will help make it a little bit easier. So the first thing is if you're reading a problem and it's telling you that your percent is increasing, when you write that as your decimal, you're going to do 1 plus your percent as the decimal. So for example here, say I am increasing by, let's see, 25%. Okay, 25% as a decimal is 0.25. So if I take 1 plus 0.25, that means I'm going to have 1.25. Okay, and going the opposite, if you were decreasing, you're going to be subtracting. Okay, so say here I am decreasing by 25%. I'm going to do 1 minus 0.25, which gives me 0.75. So you'll see what I mean by this in this next problem when we do an example using this strategy. So it says an item C is discounted by 40%, and I want to know which expressions represent the final cost of this item. Well, if my item is discounted, right, a discount is money being taken off, so that is a decrease, which means I want to do 1 minus my percent as a decimal. So here my percent is 40, so when I take 40 and write it as a decimal, 40% is going to go to 0.4 as a decimal. So to figure out which ones work, I want to do 1 minus 0.4, which gives me 0.6. So this 0.6c is one of those right answers. Now there is another one, and if I look here, this one is 1.04. That one can't be right because that is not 0.6. Same thing with this top one. This is just 0.4 times c. Can't be that. or this one on the bottom. So let's look at these two here. Notice how I'm doing 1 minus 0.4. So if I have 1 minus 0.4, that's going to give me c times 0.6, which is the same as 0.6c. So on this problem here, these two are correct because both of these will simplify and give me this 0.6c. Here's another problem very similar, except now we are increasing. So we want to know which expression has an increase of 8%. Okay, so 8% is a decimal. Let's do that first. That is 0.08. So be extra careful when you're converting to decimals, because if you put 0.8 here, that is not the same as 0.08. They're very, very different. Okay, so since I'm increasing, I'm going to add this to 1. So I have 1 plus 0.08, which gives me 1.08, and then I'm going to put an x, which looks like this one. So all of these can't be right. So now let's look at these answer choices here. This subtraction one, that one is false because I am adding, right? In this expression here, I'm adding, so it cannot be this one. Now if I'm looking at these last two answers, this bottom one here is missing a 0, right? This should be 0.08, so it can't be that, which means it's going to be C and E. When I simplify this, I get x times 1.08, which is the same as 1.08x. Alrighty. The perimeter of a rectangle is represented by the expression 2 times L plus W, where L is the length and W is the width, which expression also represents the perimeter of this rectangle. So I'm given this expression here, 2 times L plus W, and if I notice, all of my answer choices look like they're just being distributed. So remember, when you distribute, your outside number gets multiplied to everything inside. Okay, now there's no number in front of this L, but whenever there's no number in front of your variable, there's always this invisible 1. Okay, so if I have 2 times 1, that is 2L, don't forget your variable. I have my plus sign. 2 times 1 is again 2W. So in this problem here, we were just distributing to figure out which one of those expressions is equivalent to the one that we were given. Our next problem here says the perimeter of a square is represented by the expression 4x plus 6, which expression also represents the perimeter. So now this one we're going backwards, and we need to check which one of these, when I multiply it, will give us 4x plus 6. So let's distribute these. 4 times x gives me 4x. 4 times 6 gives me 24. These two are not equivalent, so it's not A. 4 times x gives me 4x. 4 times 24 is going to give me 96. So again, not equivalent. 4 times x gives me 4x. And 4 times 3 halves gives me 6. Oops, there should be a plus. There we go. Which means that C is correct. So on this problem here, we were just going backwards, or opposite of what we did in the last problem. We were distributing all of our answer choices to see which one gave us the final expression that was given to us in our problem. Alrighty, so that was all that I have. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Other than that, have a great rest of your day.